Welcome to the Wandering Tangent podcast. I'm BJ. With me is Jeff and Gary, and apparently we're here to discuss how Katagiri is really not the bad guy in Godzilla 2000 and the 1999 Godzilla 1999 Japanese monster movie.
Yeah,
It's apparently something that, well, I don't know if Jeff said anything, but at least me and Gary agreed on, even though I tried to make it a point not to mention in my review. Gary brought it up in his. I'm pretty sure I even wrote down my notes. Is Katagiri really the bad guy?
Yeah.
It's like his big evil demands to let Shinoda use his very high-end, very expensive equipment was A, share what you find out, and B, follow the rules. How dare he?
How?
He's presented as kind of a bad guy, but he's also kind of an iconic person too. So
and again, this is just from the dub. As mentioned in our review, I don't know if I ever read the subtitles or if the undubbed version is even available in the West. I'll have to check on my Blu-ray copy to see if the subtitles on there. But anyway, in the dub, there is about a 2-minute exchange between Katagiri and what's his name, Shinoda, that tries to establish Katagiri as sort of this bad guy figure, and
at least from his point of view, that's true.
Instead, it kind of makes him seem kind of reasonable.
Yeah, Shinoda's like, we're researching Godzilla, but you just wanted to use the research to destroy him, and Katagiri's like, and meanwhile he just levels Tokyo. Meaning that
like,
there's
no, we have to contain him. It's like, okay, how's your little
yeah?
What's it called, the Godzilla Prediction Network? Is that the quote unquote good guy organization?
Yeah,
there. Just
They're
because
like
I can predict a hurricane doesn't mean it's not going to roll in and level Florida, right?
but if you had an idea of how to stop a hurricane, maybe you should implement that. I don't know.
And again, to be fair, there is sort of a scene later on where they're gonna where they plant bombs in the building where the alien spaceship has landed in an attempt to blow up the alien spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
And they continue with the explosion despite the fact that Shinoda's in there, but in their defense, he did run a military blockade. He knew the building was going to be exploded, and the military did only blow up like the first 4 floors of the building, which he was not on. It was the alien spaceship that actually blew up the rest of the building.
Yeah,
like,
they were blowing up the building to prevent the data are being erased from all of Tokyo. Kind of a big problem that they were.
And it was a shaped charge too, so it's not like,
Like I said, it only blew up like the top few floors of the
4,
building, which the guy was not even on.
It sounds like we're agreeing with the guy that's supposed to be the person we're not supposed to root for, right?
That's kind of the problem, Jeff.
But maybe, BJ, it's because we have a little bit of Godzilla
in all of us. Yeah.
In all of us.
I mentioned in the review that the dub is wonderfully stupid.
So,
for the audience who doesn't know what we're laughing about right now, yes, that is the final line of the movie. Is at least the dubbed version, right?
Well, it's close enough. He doesn't say there's a little Godzilla in all of us. It's something like, maybe there's Godzilla in all of us, or something like that, or
it's
maybe all of us are Godzilla, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But so my another
Godzilla, and then right after that line, the final shot of the movie is Godzilla just atomic breathing what's left of the city.
And I remember when we watched this, the 24 years ago when it came out, and I remember being in the theater and that line came at the very end and we just burst out laughing inside this theater.
So,
and there were very few other people there. It was mostly just us sitting there. I remember that was the funniest thing.
I mean, it's not the the funniest line. That gets topped later, but it is definitely the line that leaves the impression on you. The funniest
What's your
What
line.
favorite
line
line,
tops
Gary?
it?
Okay. And you know, as soon as I say it, you'll agree with me. But I wanted to tell you some context
Yeah,
for when we were
I'm-
watching it this time.
I would say I'm like
Okay.
95% certain I know what he's gonna say,
Yes,
but I'm gonna let him say it.
so I was telling I was gonna watch it this time with my son, and my wife happened to be in the area, and she's like, she told us she doesn't want to watch it because she thinks it's gonna be, you know, stupid and goofy. And my son's like, it's a Godzilla.
That's
It's not
why
gonna be
it's
stupid
fair,
and
so.
goofy. It's a Godzilla movie. It's really cool. And she's like, or I'm like, I
Gary
just
has-
start laughing
Gary
because
has apparently been very selective with what Godzilla movies he has shown his son.
but I
Because
told
speaking
my
as a Godzilla
son,
fan, there's the vast majority of them are kind of stupid and goofy.
I tell my
makes them
son,
so
no,
great,
son. I tell my son, no. There's a line in this movie where they say that they're drilling through rock, but they keep hitting something
hitting something
solid, so
solid.
they have to stop. My wife bursts out laughing, and I do too. And he's like, "Wait, what does that? Wait, what's that mean?" It's like, rock is solid, son.
So, and to give the audience a little more context, way back in the day when this was released in U.S. theaters, like Jeff said, 24 years ago, holy crap, we're old. Gary, were you here for that, or were you out of the country by then?
I was here
Can't
for
remember.
that.
Okay.
I was here for that, and I was there with you guys when we went and saw it. How many times in the theaters in the same day?
I want to say twice. Didn't we
What?
see it twice? We saw it
I-
once, and then we found out
I
other
only
people
remember
were going.
once. Did we
really?
go see?
Okay.
Oh, again, it was a really long time ago, so my memory could be wrong. If you guys are both saying we saw it multiple times, and we probably saw it multiple times.
I
I think
think
we went twice.
maybe
in the same
maybe
day.
me and Jeff saw it multiple times, and we saw it multiple times because we had gone to see it, and then we're like, wait a minute, this is a BJ movie. We should go and watch it with BJ or something like that. I can't
I'll say
remember.
the only time I remember seeing it was us and various other friends from high school. I don't
Yeah.
want to name names because we're trying to protect.
We're trying to protect them from the podcast. Yes, I know.
Names haven't changed to protect the
Protect the
to
innocent.
people who, to protect the people who aren't involved with this train wreck. But yes, as Gary previously mentioned, there were not very many people in the theater for this random Godzilla movie, so we were given it the full Mystery Science Theater 3000 treatment, like out loud,
Yeah.
which in most cases would probably be annoying for everyone else in the theater, but I think even the other people in the theater were kind of laughing at our better jokes.
Oh, and it was so at a certain point you have to, like, I did not give it a good score in my review, and that's
Yeah, no,
to
none of us
be
really gave us
acknowledged.
glowing reviews.
But you don't. But up to Godzilla -1, you didn't go to a Godzilla movie because you wanted a good movie. You went to a Godzilla movie because you wanted to watch people in rubber suits knock down cardboard houses and stomp on little model tanks.
Well, I tried to get us to watch another good Godzilla movie this week, but unfortunately, it turns out Shin Godzilla is not streaming or for rent without buying a physical copy like anywhere on the internet. So we kind of had to shift gears at the 11th hour.
Heck, you can't even rent it on Amazon Prime. Like,
Nope.
I would have even paid straight up to rent it on
I have a digital
there.
copy of it, but that's because, turns out I have a digital copy of it somewhere, but that's because like my Blu-ray came with like digital copy, but even where my digital copy still exists, you can't even buy it there anymore. So there must be some rights thing somewhere, like prevent it from being released in the West.
Wow.
Yeah. I know it's on, I think it's called Crunchyroll. You could, that's like a specific streaming service that imports from Japan. So I think I think
Oh.
So
we would have to
yeah,
subscribe
Crunchyroll
to
is usually
that.
like Crunchyroll is like usually specifically for like anime. But like even the research I did, I saw people saying like it's not even on Crunchyroll anymore. So, like it might not even be on there anymore. Like the only place I saw where it might be is that I saw one person say you might be able to like rent it on like Apple TV, but I guess that's like a streaming service too far for like us. Like y'all remember back in the good old days, back in my day when Netflix
Black when
had everything.
Blockbuster was in charge, there was always stuff available.
Oh, seriously,
Except in reality, you'd get there and all the good movies would be gone. But
It's like
but
back in the
if
good
you
old days
wanted
when
it,
not every network, not every studio had their own streaming platform.
back in the day of
good old
video
days.
rental services, you could go to Hollywood Video or Blockbuster, and the cheesy, out of the way movies like this would be available for you to rent. Not the good stuff. You're right, Jeff. But the cheesy stuff would be available. So you just go there and get
Back
that.
in the day when you could rent a DVD on Netflix and they would mail you a physical DVD.
Yes, that was the original, and anyways.
Do they still offer that service or?
No, they
I
specifically
think they
stopped.
do.
They specifically stopped that
they
service.
stopped?
Oh,
Yes.
no, I'm wrong. They don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the audience loves this discussion that will soon be outdated
it's-
within a few years easily.
It's on. Jeff, what's the name of the podcast?
Wandering Tangent.
And we
Yes.
wandered to it.
We
But-
did. We wandered
okay.
right into that.
But Jeff, actually,
So is there a villain at all in this? It's the spaceship that's the villain, right?
yes,
Yeah, more or
the
less.
spaceship is the villain in this one. It's trying to, isn't it like terraforming or something like that, or trying to shape
Yeah,
itself?
it wants to terraform the Earth into an atmosphere that's good for the mysterious aliens. That's different from
So
our.
like now that I think about, if the alien is Godzilla cells to mold itself, why does it need to like terraform the planet too?
That
Well, it has to destroy Godzilla first. Otherwise,
It's just like on the double dip.
yeah, have its
It wants
cake
to
and eat it
terraform
too.
and adapt.
Have its cake and eat it too. That's why it would be very interesting to see the subtitle version instead of the dub. That way you could try to like get a cleaner story.
Yeah, I read somewhere that, and I think it was on Wikipedia, and of course, Wikipedia is a good place to start, but you can't always trust all the information. I heard someone say that, or I read someone say that they purposefully made the dub a bit goofy as kind of a throwback to the old goofy Godzilla dubs. I'm like, sure, okay, I guess.
that might be a subjective opinion, really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So, yeah, the alien, I think it is kind of funny. The alien, I guess, came 60 million years ago to Earth, and then it woke up because humans finally used light on it. It was the light from their submersibles that caused it to become active, which is a good explanation for it. Sure. And then, I guess...
Kind of, because then it goes to Tokyo where it becomes inactive at night despite the fact that it's in Tokyo at night, where there's probably a bit more light than what's generated on the front of a submarine.
Yeah.
So it was inactive at night, but that's really more of an observation. They don't really know why it stopped and why it started.
It doesn't even get light on itself. It gets light on a rocky, crusty formation that's rock cover formation that's on the thing itself, right?
Well,
how does
maybe
how
the
does
gun
that
port was technically
except it
uncovered
did
because
except it shifted itself so that the sun was shining on the bottom that was covered in rock, and the gun port was pointed up in the sky. So
maybe it's light. What's the word? It's not opaque rock. I don't know. It's semi-translucent.
could be
Alien rock.
Yeah.
Alien rocks.
Well, 60 million years under the ocean, it could have had sediment build up on top of it, right? That's 60 million years. You can have
Yeah, no,
dirt and
I get
debris
I
just
get
pile
that.
over
It's
it
just
and then
that
solidify.
it's just that then the light shining on it explanation doesn't work because the sediments, like the light would have to shine
Yeah.
through the sediments.
Yep. It had to have
I
been
don't.
something else that
There must,
triggered it.
and it can't be heat thermal because it's buried itself down, or it's on the bottom of the ocean next to a whole bunch of thermal vents. The water's practically boiling down there, so it can't be like heat. I don't know. I'm thinking
maybe.
too much about a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been a lot of things. The thing's intelligent, so if it sensed other intelligent life and was able to detect that, maybe just that made it get up and go like, oh, well, I guess I'll take over the planet now. There's intelligent life here. I don't know.
So,
It's so intelligent that it finds a giant dinosaur to copy, so that instead of a intelligent being, it turns into a giant fighting monster.
yeah.
Well, the only way to defeat Godzilla is with another giant monster. We know this from many Godzilla movies. There is no other method for
I don't know.
countering Godzilla. You
It
have
seems
to
be doing a
have.
pretty good job. It's just like the spaceship, but
Oh, yeah, that's true. Although Godzilla
And-
did manage to blow it up with like a couple of atomic breaths and was gone. So it probably knew that it was vulnerable. So it thought, how do I create a counter
Well,
to this threat?
but on the other hand, it had a fairly good weapon system. If it had been able to utilize that at range with any sort of decent, with any sort of decent intellect, being able to hit it from far away, Godzilla probably would not have been able to deal with it. On the other hand, everybody in the Godzilla movie has to shoot Godzilla from like 5 feet away. Otherwise, they don't.
yeah, I was going to say, we have established the fact that ranged combat is not a thing in Godzilla movies. Like there's a part where they're but there's like a line of tanks waiting for Godzilla, and he is clearly visible. He's like right there, and they cut the tank commander, and tank commander's like, wait for him to get closer. I'm like, why? Are you afraid you're going to miss?
Yeah.
And on the
They
other
only
hand,
have like so much ammo, I guess.
on the other hand, the missile launch systems did fire from fair distance away, so it's not like those guys were up close and personal. On the other hand, those were the super missiles.
Well,
so
I mean, yeah, well, I mean, they were still by the tanks. So like most modern missile systems are like designed to like engage things from like beyond the horizon.
probably given
And
the size
they
of the
did.
missiles, they probably could have fired those missiles from Korea and still hit Godzilla if this were being realistic. But yeah.
But yeah, it's like the same reason why they're attacking them with like, I'm not super confident about this, but they look to be F-15s, which are
Yeah, that I
generally
would say, yeah.
dog fighters. They never attack giant monsters with the right airplanes in this movie or
Yeah.
in these movies. It's always like high-tech fighter jets. Like I think in the beginning of Pacific Rim, like a bunch of raptors attack the giant monsters. I'm like, they would not use raptors for this. Where are the A-10s?
Where's the A-10s?
Yeah, and
Where
they're
are the
high-speed interceptors.
Where are the AC-130s, the loitering, something that can loiter and, hit him multiple times? Where's the B-52 that's 100 miles away
Yep.
dropping cruise missiles on him? You're right, BJ. Like, where's the intellect, where's the intelligent fighting systems?
Instead, we get F-15s that have to get to like 300 feet away so that they have to pull a nice fancy air show maneuver to not run into each other after they shoot the Godzilla.
Yeah.
It was a nice little swoop formation. They all come together. They all come to the same point and go up. Yeah. Very acrobatic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we said in Star Trek Beyond, it's great spectacle as long as you don't think about it. And
yeah.
And unfortunately, this movie was not good enough to make you not think about it.
And they also had, I don't know if it was 3 or a couple of dozen attack helicopters. Depends on how many, on whether or not it was just those same 3 that were on a film loop, or if it was like a few dozen that they were trying to imply were actually there. But yeah, they
I
had
believe
some.
they were trying to imply a few dozen.
Yeah, I know, but I'm jagging the movie, BJ. It's so
Yeah.
obvious what they're doing. So yeah, the smart people fighting the giant monster is not coming out in this one. At least it's better than some other Godzilla movies where it doesn't one of them open up with people fighting a giant monster and their best tactic is 5 dudes with rocket launchers.
Yeah, I want to say that's speaking of like Godzilla versus of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, but I could be wrong. But yeah, there is totally a scene where it's like 5 dudes with bazookas fighting Godzilla,
And that's it.
and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure at least one of you guys I have shown the one where there's like a dude that claims he has like the world supply of anticoagulant, and then he like
Yeah,
and he's like army crawling to sneak up on Godzilla.
That's
Oh my goodness. Yes.
I've seen. I think I even have that one somewhere. I watched
That's
it
one of
with
the Hasty era ones, I think.
I watched that one with, and he's like, don't, because the guy was aiming at mini Godzilla at one point, and he's like, don't shoot baby Godzilla. And I'm like, yeah.
To be fair, Baby Godzilla's pretty cute in those movies.
Adorable.
He is. But that one is, I think that one where things just, the goofy kind of peaked out. Like that was peak goofy in that one. Because isn't there like,
I don't know, there's some peak goofy in like the Showa era ones.
yeah.
Sliding.
I think the
tail
funniest
tackle.
plot line is just in the old Godzilla movies where in order to fight Godzilla, they retrieve a Godzilla skeleton from the ocean to build a robot around it so that they can have a giant robot to fight Godzilla. That has got to be the funniest writing.
Yeah, that's Godzilla
Ever.
against Mechagodzilla. They build the robot around the old Godzilla statue, Godzilla skeleton. I mean, to be fair, that would save you like a lot of metal on like the infrastructure of the robot. You don't need to build like the metal skeleton, I guess.
I suppose, and there could be something about Godzilla's skeleton, like it's stronger than any steel or something.
It like psychically takes over the robot though.
Yeah, it
Isn't
does.
something stupid like that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's even better. Okay.
Something like that. It's been quite some time since I've watched those ones, but yes, in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, the Mechagodzilla does go crazy, which is yes.
Which is just perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to show you how kind of silly things are, I don't know if you've seen any of the modern Hollywood versions of Godzilla and, other giant monsters, but that particular line of thinking actually gets redone again.
Yeah.
They do use the bones, but I think it's bones of Ghidorah and not Godzilla.
Yeah, so I will throw up a spoiler warning because this is for a fairly new movie in Godzilla versus King Kong, and I guess a spoiler for the ending of Godzilla King of the Monsters. So at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters, he does kill Ghidorah and like blows off its last remaining head, or I guess Ghidorah does lose a few heads in that movie. But anyway,
it's the head that was torn off in, I think, Mexico.
Okay, but
anyways, yeah.
But yeah, at some point they do. Well, I'm trying to remember.
They retrieve it and then they sell it on the black market.
Yeah.
And then
Well, they didn't like build the robot around the like the cockpit in it or something like that.
It's more like the interface. There's like some sort of weird psychic interface that they use. And then it burns the guy's brain out, and then the skeletal head just takes over. And
I didn't love Godzilla versus King Kong, the new one, and the plot line where all that gets explained is the plot line I really didn't like. So
yeah, it's
so
not.
I didn't
good.
pay very close attention.
There's some really cool action sequences in that one, but apart from that, it's not a good movie at all.
Yeah, the MonsterVerse kind of peaked at King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
What year would that be? King of the Monsters.
2019.
2019.
I think.
Okay.
Though on some days I would argue that Godzilla, the 2014 version, is maybe the best one of the American ones, but I go back and forth on that.
It does have its moments, right? I don't like that it teases you with possible monster fights and then it cuts away and never shows them to you. And you're like, but then in later movies, they did show you those monster fights and you're just like, okay, maybe less is more. There was some really cool moments, like when the guys were doing the Halo drop into a monster fight. And you're just like, you're watching the monster fight happen from the point of view of a person who's Halo dropping. That's actually a genuinely cool moment. But apart from that, you're just like...
Yeah, Godzilla 2014, it maybe doesn't have the best plot, especially, I hate to keep bringing up it, especially considering like Godzilla -1, but
yeah,
it does a really good job of doing things from a human point of view, which does a good job of showing the scale of the monsters, which I quite enjoyed.
Yes.
Jeff, have we lost you?
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm enjoying the whole thing. But your guys' knowledge outpaces mine by quite a bit.
Well,
in the overall Godzilla world and
actually,
all of the available canon.
So I've got a question for Jeff then. So in this movie that we watched, which was admittedly, 1.5 to, depending on your particular opinion of it, and then other Godzilla movies that BJ has pointed out, he's always been pointing out relatively good ones, because admittedly there are some really bad Godzilla movies out there.
Yes.
And BJ has not brought those out yet. And I've made a few suggestions for movies, and generally they've been movies that I've generally liked. Jeff, you're the person who's the Star Trek nerd, and you have yet to bring out a good Star Trek movie. Why?
I mean, again, I think I say this every time. There's some argument for Star Trek motion picture, but yes, Jeff has not had us watch any of the traditionally popular Star Trek movies, I should say. Like,
where's Wrath of Khan? Where's what's the one where it was like Picard and Kirk? Generations. Why haven't we watched Generations? Why haven't we watched Wrath of Khan? Why haven't we watched any of those other ones?
We'll have to talk to management. I don't know. Like, the ones I picked ones that were unique. That's the thing. And the Star Trek Beyond, that's new. That's new stuff coming out. So I guess we're talking about new Yeah, you're right. The whole thing's kind of a foible. So yeah, we'll talk about good Star Trek. We will.
I'm just wondering if it really does. I mean, I know it exists intellectually, but I would like our audience to know that it actually exists. So, yes, and that we do actually appreciate it.
Yep.
So my nice smooth segue kind of got ran over there because Gary brought up a point, but I want to try something a little bit different, and we may need to mute this part out of the podcast because I'm not sure if this is going to work. But as has been established in our previous Godzilla episodes, Jeff gets painfully confused by the Godzilla timeline and how this movie is not related to this movie, or that movie is not related to that movie, and that Godzilla Minus One was not a sequel to Godzilla, despite the fact it is very obviously an origin story. But hey, so
You're making fun of my lack of Godzilla timeline
yes,
sequence understanding.
In fact,
how many Godzilla movies there are? There's like 50 of them, and they all trail in different pathways.
30-something.
Yeah, 30-something. Okay.
And yes, in fact, I have created a little presentation.
Oh my goodness, you made a PowerPoint?
I made a
for me?
PowerPoint. Godzilla timeline, because this confuses Jeff. So
hold on, I'm gonna try to record this.
No.
Okay.
No, Jeff. No, Jeff.
Well, don't worry about it. Continue with your presentation.
Yes. Okay. So, well, no, because I want
The
you to pay
entire
attention,
committee
because this is
prepared for
created for you, because I know this confuses you.
Okay.
Okay. So, and then just double check, it did move on to the next screen, right? It says
Yes.
Godzilla eras.
Yes.
Okay. So,
There are 4
Godzilla
eras.
eras. There are four eras for Godzilla movies produced by Toho. I am probably going to mispronounce these because I do not speak Japanese at all, so I apologize in advance.
Okay.
So the first one is the Showa era. That's the original series. That's ran from 1954 to 1975. There is the Heisei era, which ran from 1984 to 1995. There is the Millennium era, which is from 1999 to 2004. And currently we're in the Reiwa era, which started in 2016 and is running on the present. So Jeff, to answer your first question, in the Showa era by itself consists of 15 films. All these films can be considered to be part of the same timeline. I am not going to read all the titles because there are many.
Then the 1954 would be the original one. Yeah.
Yes, I believe we talked about a few of these, or at least 2. I know I think they were both pre-Gary, the original 1954 version and King Kong versus Godzilla.
No, I think I watched King Kong versus Godzilla with you guys.
Did you? That was like the 3rd one we did. So I don't think you were here for that.
I watched it. I don't know if I was part of that podcast, but I watched it. And I know I showed it to my son, and he was like, "What the heck am I watching?"
It's like, Dad, this is weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeff, all these movies can be considered to be part of the same timeline. All these movies happened in the Showa era, okay?
Okay.
Okay, comprende? Comprende. Okay. So.
The Showa era.
Yes. So that ended, or at the very least, I should say the last Godzilla movie in the Showa era was in 1975. Like all these eras, like correlate with like who's Emperor of Japan or something like that, I think.
And in these,
like
Godzilla starts off evil, but as the timeline goes on, he slowly becomes kind of a neutral / good guy / saves everyone / still destroys the city kind of thing.
Yeah. So in like I think up through like Mothra vs. Godzilla, he's the bad guy. But then they start introducing like monsters from space and like Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster, and then after that he becomes more of a good guy, and like by Invasion of the Anstro monster and like Son of Godzilla, he's just straight up a good guy.
Yeah, because even though he still
more
destroys
of an anti-hero,
things,
I guess.
he still saves Tokyo from other monsters.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's the Showa era. Next, starting in 1984, we have the Heisei era. Now, the Heisei era starts with, that starts with the Return of Godzilla, which is known to Americans more as Godzilla 1985.
Okay.
Or at least.
Okay, yeah.
Wondering where that was going to come in.
Yeah.
Now, that 1985, that is a sequel to the original Godzilla from 1954. Yes.
Yes.
Which says up there, acting direct sequel to the original. Yeah, you even put it in the PowerPoint. Amazing.
It's almost as if I planned this. Yeah, so basically the Return of Godzilla reboots the timeline, reboots what's the word? Reboots the series. Read the PowerPoint. It's right there in front of you. And this era of films is all like one series. So like there are recurring human characters that appear in all these movies.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay. I guess not like the first one, but like starting at like Biolante on, there are recurring human characters. Oh,
Okay. And the original movies didn't have that as much, right?
no.
No. Yeah.
No, I don't think there's any recurring characters in the Showa era movies as far as I know, at least not that I can think of.
Okay.
And on the side note, the Heisei era has some great poster art.
Oh,
That's poster art for
course.
Godzilla vs. Biolante.
wow.
That's the poster art for Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. And that's the poster art for Godzilla vs. Destroya.
Those are epic, I do admit.
BJ, I have a side question for you in the middle of this presentation, if I may.
Yes.
I remember when we were much younger, you had a Godzilla video game.
Yes.
Was that
Probably
based
Super
on
Godzilla?
Was that based on this Heisei era? Because it looks like
Yes.
very similar to that.
Yes, it was based on the Heisei era. You do fight various monsters from the Heisei era. You do fight Biolante. I'm trying to remember. It's been decades since I played that game. It's probably not very good. You do fight Biolante.
You get power-ups from Ghidorah,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
You do fight, I think Ghidorah is like the first monster you fight, and then later on you fight Mecha King Ghidorah, which does appear in Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Batra? Is that how you say it? I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, but yes, that's the Heisei era. Now, here's the part where I think it starts to confuse Jeff, because we have watched a couple of movies from this era. So the Millennium Era, which started with the movie we watched today, Godzilla 2000, started in 1999 and went to 2004. 2004. No, it doesn't sound right. Okay. So
2004.
hey,
Yeah.
man, I'm used to saying stuff like 2019, 2020, that sort of thing. I'm not used to
2004.
2004. It's like, I have to
The rules
shift
are
gears.
so different. Yeah.
Things changed in 2010, man. That was a long time ago. Anyway, so the best way I saw it described is that the Millennium Era of movies can best be viewed as an anthology. Each one of these movies is a standalone that acts as a direct sequel to the original 1954 movie. The only movies that are tied to each other whatsoever are Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Godzilla Tokyo SOS. Those kind of formed own little duology, I guess.
Yeah, because one is the sequel to the other one, like a direct sequel. I was about to say that.
The rest of those movies are not connected at all. So each one of these movies acts as their own little standalone movie, only connected to the original one.
You guys can get how some of this can be rather
Yes.
confusing without this very well-crafted PowerPoint, right? Okay.
I mean,
At
I suppose I
least to
could
some, I
understand
guess.
it. I mean, I guess I could understand this, despite the fact that I explained it to you every time we watch a Godzilla movie.
That's true.
So we've got...
How does this...
So in this particular one, in this particular presentation, this is just for the Toho movies, right? We're not counting at all the U.S. Hollywood-made movies.
Stay tuned to find out.
Oh my goodness, he included those too.
Anyway, so the current Toho era we are in is the Reiwa era. Reiwa era. Like I said, I'm probably pronouncing these wrong, and I didn't even know this counted as an era until I did research on this morning. So
there's like a decade missing
yeah,
in there, right? 2004 to 2016.
yeah. So after the I'm going to go back a slide. After Godzilla Final Wars in 2004, Toho did put Godzilla on hiatus. They planned to put him on hiatus for about 10 years or so. Hence the title Final Wars. because that was like the
intentional.
50th
Yeah.
anniversary of Godzilla. So yeah, after that, the next Godzilla movie did not come around until 2016, which was Shin Godzilla, which was what we had planned to watch, but again, it's nearly impossible to find a digital version of that currently. So this era includes the two theatrical movies, Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Minus One, and it apparently also officially includes the animated trilogy of movies on Netflix. You guys probably haven't heard of these because they were not very well received. They're kind of boring.
And they're all animated.
I've seen them.
They are animated. They are on Netflix. I have also seen them, and I don't remember very much about them, besides the fact I was not very impressed. So anyway, Gary stopped his house from burning down. So Gary, you were going to say something about the Netflix animated trilogy of Godzilla movies?
I've seen it. My son has seen it, and he thinks that because it's Godzilla and because it's anime, it's the coolest thing ever. He hasn't actually watched them yet. He just thinks that it's the coolest thing ever because it's Godzilla and anime both in the same
In the same go.
In the same go.
Did you? Okay, so that's your son's thoughts. What are your thoughts?
I haven't seen them yet. Like I said, we haven't sat down
I thought
to
you
watch
said you
them
watched
yet.
them.
No, we've seen them like advertised, and he wants to watch them, and I'm like, okay, we'll give it a try. But I also have heard that they were not very well received, so I'm like, I want to dodge this bullet.
Yeah, they're not great. At least from what I remember. I might have to go back if I've never tried, but yeah. But yeah, on top of that, along with those, there's also Godzilla Minus One, which we have pretty much everyone loves Godzilla Minus One. So, anyway, you mentioned the American Godzilla movies. So, there are basically two quote-unquote series of American Godzilla movies. The first one is basically a standalone movie. That is the 1998 film Godzilla by TriStar Pictures, and then there's the ongoing Monsterverse by Legendary Pictures.
So I know that twice in the what's the 2000 to 2004 era? What was that one called? The Millennium. I know twice in the Millennium they referenced Godzilla 1998.
Yeah, well, it's almost as if it's on the PowerPoint.
Oh yeah. So
these films are separate from the Toho movies. The only connecting tissue is a brief reference in All Out Attack, where it is mentioned the Americans claim Godzilla attacked New York City in a nod to the 1998 film. The 1998 Godzilla also appears in Godzilla Final Wars as
Zilla.
Yeah, he also appears in the 1988 film. So
being referred to as a tuna-eating loser.
Well, okay, so this is one of the things where I don't want to overplay this, but like I kind of have beef with the Godzilla, Godzilla community at large, or this because they're like, oh well, they called him Zilla because he takes the god Godzilla, and they use the fact that the 1988 Godzilla gets wiped out pretty quick by Godzilla in Final Wars. I'm like, more than half, like 2/3 of the monster fights in Godzilla Final Wars last 10 seconds, right?
And
a Toho monster, Ibara, doesn't even get killed by Godzilla. He gets killed by guys with guns.
And something I will say about the Godzilla 1998 movie, it has better CG than what was it? The Godzilla 2000 that came out just the same time. Or like a year or two later.
Yeah, later. To be fair, I have not watched the 1998 Godzilla in probably over a decade at this point. I remember liking it. I remember there being some stuff wrong with it. I might make us watch it for the podcast at some point, but
yeah.
But
it's very different. Like they make Godzilla more anatomically realistic, I guess.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if it's
well, I mean, as quote unquote realistic as a giant monster gets, I guess. But
Yeah.
still, it's a fine movie. It does well. How old was I when it came out? Teenage me thought it was a fine movie. Who knows what I would think about it now? But I don't think it. If some of the movies the Godzilla community loves, I would rate lower, if not the same as Godzilla 98. So I think 98 gets a lot of hate doesn't deserve, but
They
but
just
that's
not like it because it
well,
doesn't really go along with the
well, Jeff. It's like
Toho version.
yeah, it's Godzilla purists, like Star Trek purists. Purists kill the fun in any community.
Yep, all they do. They really
Don't you,
do.
Jeff?
Don't I? That is what I do. I'm like the court striking down anyone descending away from conformity.
Anyway, to wrap this up, in summary, all the Showa era films are part of the same timeline. The Heisei era films are a reboot of the series, with Godzilla Returns being a sequel to the original Godzilla. The Millennium movies are best seen as an anthology. All the films are basically sequels to the 1954 film. All the current Godzilla movies are standalone and are not sequels to any previous Godzilla movies, and the American Godzilla movies are their own thing. The end. Go ahead.
Oh, I destroyed your epic ending slide.
Wait,
Oh my goodness.
BJ,
Where'd you get that from? Speaking of endings.
So I put this in because I had put nothing but good Godzilla poster art. So I'm like, we need a bad one.
BJ, you saved the best for last. This is the best Godzilla poster I've ever seen in my entire life.
It is so bad.
Have you seen a monster hatched from a monster egg? No? You will.
I will.
Son of Godzilla. Oh, wow.
Son of... To anyone who just listens to the podcast, I implore you, come to the YouTube, look at the video, just to see the poster of the Westernized version of Son of Godzilla. It literally has Godzilla in the background with a comic speech bubble that says, roar. Someone got
they
paid
obviously
for this.
Outsourced the
BJ, they
artworks.
didn't get paid enough. This is art. This is peak art.
It's peak something. I tell you what.
There's also a pre-mantis looking thing.
Yes.
And I guess it's a spider, obviously.
Yes.
And
those are, in fact, monsters in the movie, but they are not that technicolor in the movie.
They're not that technical.
They're not that technicolor.
Yeah, I completely do not remember the question I was going to ask.
Son of Godzilla's not very good.
Yeah, that poster just kind of like reset my brain.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway.
And I do feel that this
that was
is
the
a
presentation.
I do feel that this is a good place to cut things off, or at least to start, at least do my little bit where I start to try to end things. So
Gary can go fight the fires in his house.
Yes, I can go fight the fires in my house.
Light the fires and light the tires, or
something along those
Kick
lines.
the tires and light the fire.
Kick the tires. That's what it is. I knew I got that wrong. Anyway, so Jeff, I hope if we ever come back to Godzilla, that will at least make it so I can just say, "Watch the PowerPoint again," Jeff, rather than
every time I
having
ask
to try to explain
again,
it to you.
You'll just be like, rewatch the PowerPoint.
So here's the link to the PowerPoint again. So, gentlemen, any final thoughts on Godzilla 2000?
Well,
I will tie it back to the beginning where I say
make the point hard enough that we can stop drilling through it.
I could make a reference to the missile, like this missile will go through us like crap through a goose. But anyways, I will instead reference another one. I will reference another one saying that this movie will live on in me, just like the little part of Godzilla lives on in me.
There's
Godzilla
in all of us.
In all of us.
Maybe there's a Godzilla 2000 in all of us.
And that's where I'm going to end my part. Jeff?
Well said. Well said. Yep. Yep. Especially in the early morning. There's a lot more Godzilla than usual.
That's where Gary stops. This is the part where instead of running away, he just stands at the edge of the building and yells, "Godzilla!" at Godzilla. I really wonder what the dub or like what the actual Japanese says during that scene, because that's real dumb.
Yeah, it's hard to know the motivation at that point. I guess he just didn't want to run away anymore.
It's
Wanted
like,
to face down Godzilla.
It's like, I'm tired of being in this movie. It's like in hindsight, maybe we scored this movie a bit too high. How much you ragged on it?
We had nostalgia inflating our scores.
True. I guess mine would have been the one without the nostalgia point. Knock a one off everyone's score.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh.
I already told you guys I was going to stop talking, so I don't know why you're looking, why you're implying that I should say something.
No, I'm just sitting here. I can hear your wife talk about things bursting in the flame in the background, so I was just listening to that. Just like Tokyo at the end of the movie.
Yeah. And I'd love to
I'm
go.
BJ.
Yeah.
With me was Jeff and Gary and Gary's smoke detector. We will see you next time as we're doing something a little bit different next week, I believe.
Yes. I have plans. It's going to be special for me.
Gary is cashing in the political capital to make us do something different.
Yes.
Tune in next time to find out what that is. See you next time.